At 37 Disney Street, which isn't far from you, 3 Disney fans have watched a film which they will now review.
Hello friends and welcome to 37 Disney Street. This week we're leaving the comfort of our zoo and heading to a remote island as we review classic number 46, 2006's The Wild. I've got popcorn at my bum. I'm Chris Fletcher.
And I can't imagine beginning the day without licking myself. I'm Lucy Rain.
I'll take the one with a funny niece. Hello children, I'm Hugh Rain.
Hello.
Lucy, we just recorded that intro twice, and Lucy congratulated me on my Patrick Warburton, and I contested, no, that wasn't very good, but that one was even worse.
That second one wasn't as good, but I did think your first one was good.
Well, isn't that a shame? We'll never know. Oh, do you know what I could do, actually? I can, because I'm going to send, this probably will only work on the audio version and not the video, but I can drop the original over that one.
Yeah.
And people will never know.
Oh, no. Vanity.
And I probably will do that.
We've just talked about it. I'm not going to cut this out. So.
Well, that's fine.
What about the audience just takes your word that you can do a really good Patrick Warburton, and then you don't need to prove it either way, because they could be disappointed.
Peter Pan.
I need you to talk like that all the time.
Cusco, poison. The poison of Cusco. Cusco's poison.
I'm making you a bit smaller here because you're bigger than everybody else. So I'm actually moving you about on the screen now in front of everybody.
Oh, we should do that in real life. Right.
Yeah. Well, here we are to talk about The Wild.
Well,
we've all been really excited to see this film because none of us have seen it before, I don't think, have we?
We know so little about it that I tweeted asking people to let us know what they thought of it. Only one person got back to us. And I attached a GIF to it, and I didn't even know if the GIF was from the film. And here's how bad it is. Having seen the film, I'm still not sure if that GIF is from this film or not.
I don't think it was.
It is.
No, I don't think it was.
Not only had none of us seen it there, I don't know about you two, but I had never heard of it when we started doing this podcast. I mean, I'd heard about it before this week, but like a year and a half ago, when we started doing this podcast, we were looking ahead and going, and I think it was you, Chris, who went, oh, and then we get into that weird period where they've got stuff like The Wild.
Yeah,
and I went, they've got what?
I don't think I really knew about it.
And we're massive Disney fans. Massive Disney fans. Never heard of this film.
Is this the one that's a classic that in the UK, but it's not a classic in the US?
It shouldn't be a classic anywhere.
Well, that's up for debate. I'm sure we can decide whether we all agree with that or not.
No, because I think Dinosaur is a classic in the UK. So I think
Dinosaur was a US one.
Oh goodness, I don't know.
Yeah, I think this is the one that's in the UK one and isn't in the US. This is where we get back on level numbers after this.
Right.
In the US.
Right.
Which gives you a good indication of whether it's going to be good or not, I would say.
The fact that I'd never heard of it made me think this must be really bad, like movie of shame, kind of bury it under the carpet, and that's why I was looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
Now we'll discuss whether or not that was the truth in a minute.
As usual, we get excited with something that we haven't really seen because we suspect it's going to be bad, and that normally means like it's going to be fun to talk about.
Yeah.
But then there's always the risk it might just be meh or boring.
Or just terrible.
Yeah, or just arduous.
Yeah. Let's see what we thought of it though in a few minutes. Lucy, do you want to do some history stuff? Shall I play these jingle? Are you ready?
Yeah, baby.
Here we go.
It's time to dig a little deeper to learn some Disney stuff. Dig a little deeper, no, we ain't dug this far enough. Dig down deep into the facts, we'll find out what we need. Lucy will school us, guaranteed. Open up the windows, let in the light, children.
Nice little flick there with your hands, Lucy. I like it.
A little dance. Right, The Wild. Okay, guys, just to let you know, go into my thought processes a little. When I do these history segments, the first thing I do is I go on Wikipedia, and it gives you your really basics, bish bash bosh, bit of information. If there's something I find interesting, I can then go and research someone's biography, and I tend to spider off from there. So just like I normally do, I went to the Wikipedia page. Now, every movie I have ever done this for has followed the same segments on Wikipedia. It goes little introduction, and then it goes plot, cast, development, production, animation, and it does it in sections.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I got to this little page and it went plot, cast, release, comparison to Madagascar. That's it. That's all it's got to tell you. And then there's a little bit on the video game and the soundtrack at the end, but it doesn't even bother telling you about the production or the animation or the writing process like we normally get.
Normally, Disney and Pixar films, there's always like a film that's like it from another studio, and people compare that to the Disney or Pixar. Yes. This sounds like it's the other way around, that people are comparing this to Madagascar.
Well, it came out a year later, and as is often the case, they're actually in production at the same time. Yeah. So in theory, both of them could either argue that they knew nothing about the other one, or argue that the other one had copied them. They could both do that, but unfortunately,
I'm no lover of Madagascar, but this, like, if you put them next to each other, just visually, this looks like the worst film. So people are going to say, "Well, that's just a copy of Madagascar."
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't realize they came out so close together. Actually, I'm quite surprised about that.
No, because this looks like it was made about 10 years before Madagascar.
Well, yeah, we can talk about that in a bit. But it's funny that this and Dinosaur are the ones that. One of them's US and one of them's a UK classic, because style-wise they seem quite similar to me.
I think that's doing an injustice to Dinosaur. Wow. I mean, we'll get on to this. I think we're nailing our colours to the mast quite soon.
It's rubbish.
So it was co-produced by the Walt Disney Pictures.
Walt Disney.
Hoity Boy Pictures.
Mr. Hoity-toity.
Hoity Boy Pictures, so Zip Studios and Contra Film, and it was animated by Core Feature Animation, but that's CORE, capital. It's an anagram.
Lots of well-known businesses.
It's the third and final film that was co-produced by Walt Disney Pictures. The others being The Brave Little Toaster, which I didn't actually realise.
I love that film.
I didn't realise that had any Disney connection whatsoever.
Lasseter.
It's
basically Pixar, isn't it?
I've never seen it. Seen it.
It's never anywhere. I hope it comes on Disney Plus at some point, because I think it is a great Christmas film, and I would love us to do that as a Christmas review. Maybe
really? I look forward to that then, because I've heard other people talk very nostalgically about it, and I've never seen it. So that would be good. And The Nightmare Before Christmas is the other one. And then this was the third and final one. Now, I don't know anything about Brave Little Toaster, but I know about The Nightmare Before Christmas in that the touch of the Disney company was very light indeed. It was distant. It was made in a different city. There was a bit of money, not much creative control. So I'm presuming that's the situation here. The director is, and this is a brilliant name, Steve Spaz Williams. Spaz in inverted commas, presumably is his nickname.
He's a fun guy.
He is. He's like, he's a little bit zen. He's a little bit.
I'm
crazy.
Surprised that word is anywhere near the credits on a Disney film.
I'm presuming it's not meant.
No,
I think it's to do with Steve.
Yeah, but it just seems like a strange word to highlight. That they might say, "Oh, would you mind if we just didn't mention that, because it has certain connotations?"
Yeah,
and there's no hiding it either. The film finishes and it's there, right in front of you. First thing that happens in the credits. It's big.
Yeah, you're right.
Strange one.
Does that have the same connotations in the US though?
I don't know.
Yes, I think it does.
All right, okay.
Pretty sure it does.
I don't know, those crazy Yanks, no idea. It was, so he is a computer animator, and he'd worked on Jurassic Park and T2 and The Mask, and he was just an animator, and then he created his own production company. So his production company is Hoity Boy Pictures, and this is the only film to come out of Hoity Boy Pictures.
Really?
I believe so. It was the only one that was sort of listed in his works.
That makes sense.
Spaz
Yeah.
was never heard of again.
Your screenwriters have got a little bit more form. They were from Something About Mary and Santa Claus, The Santa Claus 2, The Santa Claus 3. You know, where he falls off the roof. Those ones.
Wow.
And they both worked on Boy Meets World.
Oh yeah.
So there's something there. I'm stretching a bit here because, like I said, there's nothing on the Wikipedia page.
When we've run out of everything on this show, we're just going to go through every single episode of Boy Meets World 1 week at a time. Yeah, that's the last thing. There's going to be like one listener left, one Boy Meets World fan.
We'll have to pause the podcast halfway through for toilet breaks because we're all geriatric.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to mention how much Mr. Feeney sounds like Kit in every episode as well.
yeah. And each week I will forget and I'll say, I can't tell it. Is he being sarcastic or is he being funny? And I'll always forget because I'm old.
This is next year, by the way, everybody.
Yeah.
Right. It included voices from Kiefer Sutherland playing Samson the Lion, Jim Belushi playing Benny, Eddie Izzard playing Nigel, and Janine Garofalo playing Bridget.
Garofalo's child.
This is not terribly interesting, but two more voices I had to look up was the two alligators in the sewer.
Oh.
Hugh and I are binge watching Sopranos at the moment.
Yeah.
And I just thought you've got Italian, American, New Jersey accents there. I bet those actors have been in Sopranos. So I looked them up. They'd both been in Sopranos.
Yeah, and one of them was also one of the muggers in Flight of the Conchords.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a very small pool. So it's the biggest animated film.
It's the biggest grossing Disney film of all time.
That nobody ever heard of.
Not a patch on Snow White. It's the biggest animated film ever produced. Right, I have to put a disclaimer in here, in that when I couldn't find anything on Wikipedia or in any of my Disney books or on any of the reputable sites, I went down to
the dark web.
The dark web basically, and they've got like trivia on IMDb and stuff. And I've caught it out before. I've been really inaccurate, so I'm disclaiming that here. But apparently, it was the biggest animated film ever produced, with over 400 animators. And then he phrased it really funny, with over 400 animators in a large building.
Citation needed.
That's how he phrased it. So that was right. I've got a couple of theories here. That's like the filmmaker's mum going, "Oh, it was the biggest film ever. He had 400 animators in his building,
all in one building."
Oh, it was a front for money laundering. You know what I mean? That's the only thing. Oh, we're making a movie. I've got 400 people on the payroll. That's the only explanations I can come up with.
What if this is a money laundering film?
I could believe it.
God, could you imagine?
Well, yeah.
It was the first Disney film not released on VHS. Now, I had to kind of look that up because I thought that doesn't sound right. It was limited release for the Disney Movie Club members could get a copy of a VHS, but it wasn't widely released on VHS. That's semi-correct.
So it's not true then.
It was printed onto VHS, but you couldn't have bought it.
Maybe I'd get it on eBay.
Rude.
Yeah.
Could have done.
Rude. It could if you wanted. Yeah, not you, Chris.
I don't want to buy it.
Oh, when you purely do.
No, this is a little bit damning. It was the first film released by Walt Disney Animated Studios after John Lasseter was named Chief Creative Officer for both Pixar and Disney Animation. So it could have been a very short career, couldn't it? If they'd spotted that. There are no human faces seen in the film, and aren't we grateful for that? Given the form of previous computer animated films.
No, I argue that's not correct. There is a human face.
Is there?
Yeah, the koala, who looks nothing like a koala.
Oh, yeah.
It just looks like a human with a long black nose.
Yes.
And that is me fully exhausting my research. And I tried, boys. I tried. It's just not out there.
I'm really glad though, because if there was ever a film I didn't want to know more about, this is it. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
So what we'd normally do at this point, and I guess we'll do it today as well, is we talk about the story, and we talk about the animation, and we talk about the music. I'm telling you people who haven't been tracking us doing this for 2 years, what we do here. And then we score it all. But first, what do we do, Hugh?
Well, there are 10 points that we need to add up to make up the final score up to 100, and we get those from the children. Now, this is one of the shortest ones I've ever had to put together.
We just watched The Wilds. I don't have really much to say about it, but I will give it a 2 out of 5.
So, it's about this lion's son is missing, and they have to go to the wild to find it. One funny part is when a squirrel gets stuck up the big lion's nose, and the little lion can't really roar at the start, and the big lion has this team, and he did like turtle bowling, turtle darts, or whatever it was, curling.
My favourite bit was the end.
That was a very dramatic pause.
My favourite bit was the end, when they all like danced. My favourite character was the big lion, Samson.
What's the little one called again?
Ryan.
Ryan
The lion.
Are they chameleons or frogs?
They were chameleons, yeah, I think they were chameleons.
Okay, I would say the chameleons.
I would give it a 3 out of 5.
I would give it a 7 out of 6.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to say?
Nope. Bye.
Pick the bones out of that, Hugh.
So Bonnie's bit on that was about 7 seconds. She had nothing to say. She was totally disinterested in it. Lucas is normally extremely thorough.
Do you know what he said to me?
It goes through every scene.
He said to me before we started, he said, do I have to talk about everything? Can I just give my score?
Yeah.
And then he still gave it that.
Yeah, he gave it a 3.
He said, I said, what's the worst Disney film you've seen? He said, Fantasia. And I said, all right.
Yeah.
He said, but I liked Fantasia 2000. I said, and do you think this was better than Fantasia? He said, yes. And what score did you give Fantasia? 2. So, okay, fair enough. You can give it a 3. That's fine. I'd allow it.
Yeah, well, Bonnie was in and out of the room. I could tell she wasn't interested. And afterwards, when I say, can we do the recording for the show? I could tell it just wasn't even worth like trying to cajole. I just said, look, just say you didn't really like it and I'll give it a whatever. And she actually gave it, she gives it everything a 4. She gave it a 2. So normally like they would like summarize the story for us, but they didn't have a great deal to say. So maybe we're going to have to do that when we talk about the story.
So it's time to discuss how the story goes. I know it can't be worse than Oliver and Coke.
Or can it?
Well, no, hang on.
What if it is?
Right, the first thing I want to say, I want to put this right out there, is when they did that opening ident and it kept coming back, right? They did that. I liked that. And then that led into this really stylized, exaggerated storytelling. My first thoughts were, do you know what? this has been underestimated. What if this is like a hidden classic? This could be really, really good.
I mean, you're
and the
right.
first 5 minutes, I thought were good.
You're right, except it still had Kiefer Sutherland narrating it.
Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah. Okay,
So-
I accept that.
But I agree. I
But-
wrote that down as well. I wrote this. I wrote the
I
same
got
thing. I thought,
really
yeah, it was
excited.
interesting.
I thought we were going to uncover a hidden gem. Now that's all I want to say.
There's something he says in 24 all the time, and I
Damn
can't. It's a
it.
quote all the time. And I can't remember what it is.
Damn
Is
it.
it just get me the antidote?
He probably said that as well. Yeah. He said,
Get
"Damn
me
it
the
a lot."
antidote.
Damn it, Chloe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in this,
Damn it, Chloe.
this is just a film of him saying Ryan
Ryan.
about 300 times.
Do you know what? I meant to have a look
Ryan.
and see if I could find anywhere online that told me how many times he said it in the film, because he said it a lot.
Yeah.
And the thing is about the name Ryan, it's a great name. Anyone
Well,
listening who's got a name Ryan. However, it doesn't have hard consonants in it. So it comes out Ryan.
If you think of it in terms of lion, it makes sense. It's
Yeah.
like,
Ryan
you know,
the lion.
Keon in the sequel to Lion King. Is it Keon? Or the
Kovu.
the TV series.
Lion
Oh,
Pride,
the
Pride
Lion Guard.
Guard.
Yeah, Lion Guard. He's called Keon, isn't he?
Mm.
And Ryan, Lion, fair enough. But to me, Ryan, that's just a kid I went to college with.
Ah,
It's such an ordinary sounding name.
you see, to me, Ryan is Ryan's World on YouTube. That's what
Yeah.
comes into my mind. Luckily,
Ryan
the kids
Star
have grown
Reviews.
out of him now, but all I could hear was his mum going, "Ryan, hey Ryan."
Yeah, in that cavernous, massive mansion you've got. And you can literally hear the echoes as they talk on that because they've got so much money.
You
No
can hear all
friends.
the coins dropping like Scrooge McDuck in the massive mansion.
Yeah.
Oh, new
so-
episode of that dropped this week.
Oh. What? Ryan?
No,
DuckTales.
DuckTales
Oh.
new series.
Oh, do they?
Ooh.
very good. So yeah, like you said, there's that really exciting opening, and then what feels like 20 minutes of curling.
Yeah, Curling.
You're like, oh, they're still curling. And it's not 20 minutes, it's not even that, but it just feels like immediately the pace just drops down to, and you know, like they're playing a sport, it should be exciting, but it just feels so flat, doesn't it?
they're just demonstrating a bit like. Have you seen that film Madagascar? A bit like in Madagascar, right? That what they're doing is they're showing that when Central Park Zoo, because it's the same blooming zoo.
It's the same zoo.
When Central Park Zoo closes, the lion, who obviously is the most important animal there, goes and meets up with his giraffe buddy and the penguins, and curls with a snake.
And I love how there's just one of each animal. I don't like it when we nitpick things like this, but there's one of each
there
animal
any
and they
other way
all
to
end up
approach
friends
that?
together. You'd think they'd kind of at least make friends by height or something.
And curling as well, that was kind of big at this time, but curling would never feature in a film now, would it?
Was it big if you're from Canada or Scotland? Is it big in
Yeah,
the
but
US?
I remember it being like, it was a bit of a spectacle. It was like, it was new in the Olympics, I think.
Hmm.
You know, and people were watching it, and people, comedians were talking about it, and it was a real it was a cultural phenomenon almost. But then it just faded away, and you know, like it dates the film.
Yeah,
It really does. Like
and it didn't
curling.
need
It's
that.
like,
It
well,
needed help.
in the kids bit, Lucas, he at one point he calls it darts. He calls it three things. He
Ice
calls it
skating darts or something.
ice skating, then darts, and then he finally gets curling.
The minute he mentions or somebody mentions those green boxes as well, you're like, because I kind of had some hope that they might stick to the zoo and have a little bit of zaniness in the city.
Yeah.
But I knew it was called the Wild. But I really hoped they wouldn't travel to Africa, because in that, you know, that film Madagascar.
Oh no, I've not seen it. Go on, carry on.
Not seen that one.
No, no.
Well, thing is about that is they do the same thing. And when I watched that, I thought, this
But
is
in an aeroplane, not in a
ridiculous.
boat.
True. I thought
So
this
it
is
is different.
ridiculous that they would just manage to find the way to Madagascar. It's nonsense. But these guys, they managed to make 2 different routes and then find each other when they get there.
I know, it's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, it's such an arbitrary argument as well that he has with his dad, just so they can get him into that container. It just doesn't feel like
because he's a kitten that doesn't roar, because kittens don't roar.
It's a cub.
Well, whatever. He's a kitten. He's a pussycat.
Ryan. Oh, but before they go on this adventure, they have to speak to some very questionable pigeons.
Oh yeah, instead of penguins, get me the pigeons.
But I was watching that and I thought, right, they've got strong Asian accents, and there's there's some Asian music playing, and then these lady pigeons doing this sort of national Indian dance. And I thought, now, is this inappropriate? Like, my instinct was it was, but I was like, no, but hang on, let's just look up the actors. White. Well, the main guy was, anyway, the one that plays Hamir, he was a white guy. So I thought, oh, no. And it was a very strong accent he was doing.
I'm not going to lie, I switched off in that bit.
Nasty taste in the mouth there.
What was the purpose of them? What did they do? Because I literally
comedy
switched off in that bit. No, but they went to get them to do something. What did they do?
I think they were wise.
Wise about what?
It's what to do. I can't remember. I was too busy looking up whether or not I was offended.
Right.
And it turned out I was.
Yeah.
I think they were just telling him where to go, because they can fly around the city and they know.
Right. Cool. Good on them.
Was Benny the squirrel, was he an exhibit at the zoo, or did he just bomb around Central Park? Because he wasn't. I mean, they don't have squirrels in zoos, do they?
No.
So he was free to come and go as he pleased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With pigeons as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Free to come and go, and free to have a totally unrealistic infatuation with a giraffe.
Then, and I'm zooming ahead a bit here. When they get to Africa, you can go back in a second, but they had to introduce a nemesis, and they chose as that nemesis a wildebeest who wanted not to be the bottom of the food chain.
Yeah.
I don't really think wildebeest has been the bottom of the food chain. Don't know if they wanted to be the top of the food chain. They didn't really seem to know what they wanted to do. And I don't understand anything about it.
This film seemed to be leading up to Ryan finding his raw.
Yeah.
And I miss it? Because at the end, they were on the boat and the dad had done the big roar and he'd had his big moment. But then Ryan said, and I found my roar. And I said to Lucy, did I miss that? Was there a bit where he roared like a proper adult lion?
No.
There wasn't.
No.
And I said,
that is ridiculous then. Unless I missed it and there was a moment where he finally found his roar. But he says he finds his roar. I didn't hear him roar. Now, I need to double check that because it seems like something I must have missed.
I have a big plot hole issue, and it goes a bit like this. This is how engaged by this film I was, by the way. I started thinking, right, first off, about 2 minutes in, I wrote down, I bet his big secret is that he's not actually from the wild.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, that is exactly what it turned out to be. But as soon as that turned out, I thought, right, hang on a second. And I spent the next 15 minutes looking at the lifespan of animals. Now, a regular lion would live 10 to 14 years, okay? Now, thinking about the fact that he's been bred in captivity and was a cub that was in the zoo there from a very young age, if he's somewhere...
No, he was in the circus, wasn't he?
Well, he was before, but he was still a cub when he went to the zoo.
Oh, okay,
Now,
yeah.
it's unrealistic to think that a giraffe, which has a lifespan of 26 years, a koala that has a lifespan of 13 to 18 years, a hippo, for instance, because there was a hippo there that was a friend, that has a lifespan of 40 years, or a python, a lifespan of 30 years, that none of those knew that he was bred in captivity. It is not realistic to consider that, because when he arrived at that zoo, he couldn't roar either, because it was proven in his backstory. I have an issue with that, personally.
Okay.
Good. I just wanted to make that heard.
I've also got an issue with that backstory. Why was that entire circus show relying on a cub roaring for the first time?
Yeah.
So... No idea.
So we see that it can't roar. Young Samson can't roar. So why was the ringmaster saying, and now the lion, and he finds his roar? What show is this where you get a lion cub out to do its first roar in front of an audience? It was preposterous.
Have you never
So
been
the
to a
audience
circus?
wouldn't know it was his first roar because it's the first time they've seen the show.
Yeah.
The ringmaster doesn't know for a fact that he's going to roar anyway. And even if he did, it wouldn't be impressive. It's like some weird Freudian dream, isn't it?
That was completely nonsensical.
Mm.
I have a bit of a plot issue. When they get on the boat, and then they scare off the sim, and he jumps off the boat, and then the snake wraps himself around the steering wheel of the boat, and just in the nick of time steers out of the way of the other boat. The water that's being pushed by the other boat would have been enough to capsize and sink that boat. And
Well-
then he goes to another boat and does exactly the same thing again. Still no capsizing. Just saying.
The laws of physics really don't apply to this film. And when we get onto animation, I have several things to say about it.
I'm sure there's a bit, you know, when the squirrel turns up on the birds and then they can't see the boat that they're chasing. So the squirrel points in the direction the boat is. I'm sure he's pointing in the wrong direction. Again, I'd have to watch it again, but he seemed to point exactly the opposite to where the boat was going that I thought. Anyway, I could be wrong there. Could be wrong.
Can I say, while we're still in story, something in the film's defense? The story was awful, just pointless
defense,
from
good
beginning to
defense.
end. I actually think the dialogue itself,
Yeah.
and in many ways, the pacing of the awful story and things like that were actually quite good.
I thought the tone was humorous. The way they were talking, like when we talked about Raya, the sort of the humorous modern style of Cece, and that I find it really annoying, and it wound me up because they were trying to have like a funny edge to it. This just generally had a funnier tone, where some of the interactions were generally quite okay.
But
They
not
weren't
gonna fall
hilarious
out
or
of the
anything
sky.
like that.
That flipping thing with the squirrel on the bird again. Do you think the answer's just going to fall out of the sky and hit you on the head? That kind of humor, I hate it. Or when she goes, "Oh, does anyone know how to steer?" "Oh no, we don't, because we're all animals."
Okay, those are bad examples, I'll grant you, but a lot
Like
of that
gags.
is to do with the story and the storyboarding, and then we want this to happen, and then we want that to happen, and that's where the lame jokes come in. I think the actual dialogue was, for the most part, all right. Chris, it's not going to make me give the film an 8 or anything like that, so don't start getting worried. I just want to, it's not a total roast, and I want to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
There's some fairly decent.
Can I take a little bit of credit away from it? The snake appears to be just there to repeat the things people say and give unnecessary exposition, a bit like Fozzie Bear in Muppets Most Wanted. It's horrible. That character is just terrible. What is the point in it being there?
Yeah, it seems like a real afterthought as well. You know how not Hey Hey, Pua was literally drawn in later to Moana because they just felt they wanted something to sell toys. There's something about that snake that he's, for 90% of the film, has no purpose, and he doesn't gel with the rest of the characters, and he doesn't seem to have a place. You know, like he's got his buddy and he fancies her and all that stuff. The snake, I just don't know why it's there, and it's like they put him in afterwards to solve a couple of a couple of things, like how do they get down the grate? You know, it's just like the odd bit like that.
It's like, do you know there's a little character in the Neverending Story that like he's like a little creature. He's got like a kind of a witch's face, but he's a man. He's a little man character, and he's only I think he rides on the bat, but his only purpose is they keep cutting to him just so he can react. So he keeps going,
Yeah.
they're talking to the queen. You know, that snake felt like that.
Yeah.
And every time they cut to him, I was like, oh, shut up.
And just to make him more endearing, they gave him the most irritating voice.
Speaking of that, now I think I said this quite recently, but
That was someone famous.
Brits, their voices, maybe they sound exotic and funny to Americans, but whenever I hear a Brit in one of these films, the voice sticks out a mile and it just sounds so ordinary and not like a cartoon voice to me.
Yeah.
As Eddie Izzard, I love him, but I don't know what he's doing there. Why is he playing a koala? He's a Brit. What is that?
Yeah.
I actually wrote that down. Things I learned from this film. Koalas are English. Flamingos are Scottish. Yeah.
Oh,
That's a snake.
yeah, he was
Out of Spin City, and you know that guy was
he's
really.
Bing Bong from Inside Out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Take it to the moon for me. I did like the crocodiles,
Alligators.
Yeah.
the alligators. They were funny.
Yeah.
Oh, and what was a refreshing change was the crate that Ryan ended up in. When they went to the island, it turns out they were rescuing the animals. And I thought, oh, are they capturing them to take them to the zoo? Turns out they were rescuing. And it was so refreshing to see humans not just being, oh, we're humans, we're bad. You know, like, and we're all kind of go, yeah, we're terrible. We should do something about it. It's like, no, you know what? Sometimes we do help the animals. In fact, most of the time we do. And it's nice to see them that being acknowledged that they were on a rescue mission.
Yeah.
Did we all enjoy seeing the rodent have a poo?
Oh, yeah.
Reading the leaf.
Well, that was going to be my one favourite bit.
Not the squirrel going up the lion's nose. That was my favourite bit.
Yeah, because it's like, doesn't anybody knock anymore?
It was funny. He had this leaf like that, presumably there'd be some kind of writing on it.
Yeah, but the weird thing is, like, he's supposed to be having a poo, but then immediately he turns around and he calls down the toilet chute. Because, you know, the guy's saying, oh, I'm looking for friends. He's like, no friends down here, or whatever he says. And he presents his bum to the camera, but this is the same bum that he's supposed to have just been pooing out of. So I was looking for a hole. Yeah. Or some kind of...
a little clinker.
Yeah, some kind of residue on it. Oh, what were those Austrian dung beetles about?
Don't know.
Oh, gosh,
What
yeah.
seconds.
earth was that? Were they Austrian?
Yeah.
The kind of
something like that. They were doing the not the Tarantella.
No. Like there's these like
Foot slapping one.
These-
Tyrolean.
these beer keller like female dung beetles. I just what, and it's not like, oh, it's kind of funny because it's weird and random. It was just it just made you go, what are they?
Why did
What was that? So the tone was so weird.
Why did the wildebeest have to dance? Was that to do with Home on the Range and the guy in that, and the need to have something similar?
There's potential for that to be funny. That they're like the boss is like, he's got aspirations of putting on him like a musical show, and like
That was William Shatner.
and none of them. Oh, that was Shatner.
But they
I
didn't
noticed
play
he was
to
in
it
it,
at
'cause
all,
I-
though, did they?
No, it wasn't that funny. I didn't realize that was Shatner because I saw he was in it, and I was thinking, oh,
He
that's
did
funny
gruff
because
his voice quite a bit.
he's almost in he's also in Over the Hedge, which is kind of has comparisons to this, I guess, because it's got animals in it.
I didn't get that. They're not an animal sort of known for being regimented in that kind of way. And like you say, if they've been making something really zany and weird out of it, it was all just a hot mess.
I think they were trying to do like a nod to the producers or something.
Maybe.
Because there's a bit where he almost does the Roger Debris like turn, kick, turn, kick, turn. You know that bit. And there's a bit where he's going turn, step, kick or whatever.
That's out of chorus line, really, a parody of it. And then the parody producers is really parodying that rather than...
Oh, that's next level because I'm quite good at the musicals now, but I'm not that good. So I don't think I've even seen Chorus Line.
Don't see the film. See the stage show, don't see the film.
Okay. Is there one in that?
Yes.
Yes,
So
one isn't.
I've performed that number in a different show. Singular sensation.
Peripatetic, poetic, and chic.
Yeah.
That's a good tongue twister for a warm up. Where was I? I would actually, people listening to this have not seen this film and are like, I want to know whether it's worth watching. Thing is, short answer, no, it's not. But go and watch it because now we're talking about it and we're talking about dung beetles dancing the Tyrolean and rodents having a poo, and you realise how bonkers it is. And I do think it's something you should maybe experience
on drugs.
I can't decide if I would watch this again or not.
I think it might be bad enough. to be worth watching to laugh at.
I probably won't watch it, but if I'm trying to think of the circumstances under which it would be, like Bonnie would have to ask for it, but there's no way she would ask for it.
Wouldn't.
So no one in this house would say, I'll tell you what, should we watch that? It's very unlikely I'll ever watch it again. But if it was on, it wouldn't be the worst thing.
Shall we score the story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're 40 minutes into the show.
Wow.
But I've got a feeling it's going to speed up, especially when we get to music.
Who's going first then?
Okay, I'll go first. Despite everything, it did have redeeming features. I felt it had a strong opening, and like I say, some of the dialogue was good. And that is just rescuing it from a 1, because the story itself is so terrible. So I'm going to give it a 3 for story.
This film is just Kiefer Sutherland, as we said, saying Ryan about 300 times. How they have the nerve to even reference The Lion King when they show the poster. They walk past the poster in New York. How they have the nerve to mention that film within this is beyond me. But it's generic. It is vaguely amusing. The real shame for me was at the end, towards the end of the credits, it recommended watching Zootropolis. And that's like eating a piece of gristle while being shown a photograph of a steak. Because it just made me go, oh yeah, I really do want to watch that compared to this. But
it's a palate cleanser.
I
think there's just enough there for me to give it a 5.
Oh. Well, there's a bit at the end of this film when Kiefer Sutherland's character, Sam, gets up and dances in front of everybody and does a horrible dad dance and then poses and goes, hey, hey.
Yeah.
And they're all there, agog, mouths wide open going, what the hell was that?
Oh.
And Ryan says, yeah, that was great. And everyone goes, yeah, that was great. I imagine that was the conversation that went on when this film was pitched. Someone went, and that's the film. What do you think? And somebody in there just looked at everybody who blatantly thought it was terrible and went, yeah, it's good this. Come on, everybody, it's good. We're going to do it. Yeah, okay, yeah, great. 2. It's a 2.
2.
That I forgot how that bit is really embarrassing. It was almost as if Kiefer Sutherland was actually doing that awkward dance and was going, oh no, he's trying to do comedy and he's not a comedian. That's what that felt like. It was just awful. Not nice. So
animation?
Off to a cracking start.
Animation.
Look at the animation, you, the characterization, you, and don't forget the background and the style. Yeah, man.
Well, we have to start with that intro.
Yes.
Because you're watching that intro and you're like, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
The look of it. And then it's so impressive that you're just disappointed when that's not the whole film. And it's so stylized and interesting. The colours are amazing. The lighting, it's so dramatic. And, it's a fantasy, so it's supposed to be like that. But all that does is just make the rest of it look even worse than it is.
Yep. I agree. There's not a lot more to say, really. The Sims, the people are like the Sims, the computer game, the Sims, and I hate that. I just hate these kind of faceless, like they couldn't be bothered doing it. I know they don't want the focus to be on the humans, and that's fine, but I hated it, really hated it.
Can I jump in? I've got a big problem. Well, it's with this film, that's what my big problem is. But
yeah, you don't have to tell us about a lump.
You can
I found this lump.
Do films about animals, and you such as The Lion King and Bambi, and you can study the animals anatomically and you can make them anatomically correct. Or you can do films like Zootopia and Robin Hood, where you make a conscious decision to humanize them. What's the word for a humanized animal?
Anthropomorphic.
Anthropomorphize them.
Yeah.
But what they've done here is they've decided they're going to do, and I'm going to use quotation marks, anatomically correct animals, but then not animate them or move them in any way close to it. For example, you've just talked about that dance scene at the end. The lion stood up on his hind legs, finishes by putting his arms in the air like that. an animal's shoulder, a lion's shoulders joints don't move in that way. Now I know that sounds really finicky, but it's not, because what you know how a lion moves because you're a human and you've been watching David Attenborough your whole life. And when you see it, it just feels so off. It's like the flavor's off. It's like gone off food. You're like, something not quite right there. And that happens throughout the entire film. And I feel the same about, I mean, the face of the lion is essentially anatomically correct. But then other animals, like who mentioned the koala?
Yeah.
The koala doesn't have...
awful.
But the snake is worse.
The snake's eyes are like...
The snake's got a flat face.
Yeah, it's got like almost like a human face.
It's got like a nose and stuff. It's just awful. Now you can choose to do that, and I will stand by any animator's right to choose to do that. But you have to pick a side. You have to pick a side, and this skirts it terribly.
It was just inconsistent tonally, the look of it, aesthetically, I mean. Do you know what though? For the time, it's technically very good. Like the fur, the detail is good, but it's artistically, the characters are so boring to look at. It's not stylized. It's not artistically engaging.
I have an annoyance with some of the character animation as well, and it's this. You could tell when they went into the sewers that the crocodiles weren't bad because they weren't grotesque. Every single evil character in this film was grotesque. Those dogs were hideous. Like they were horrible. They wouldn't go for an angry dog like realism. They just went for this horrible grotesque thing, and that really annoys me. It just really, really annoys me. You don't have to go down that route. You can make something look evil or angry or nasty without having to take it to that stage, I think.
I don't remember these dogs.
No, it's like a poodle with one poppy out eye.
Yeah.
I'm quite surprised to hear you say it was technically good. I know what you're saying about the fur and things like that. But 2 points. I know a little bit about animation, not much, but a little bit. And when you've got a face moving, you've got certain points that you can manipulate muscles and things. And I just don't think they had enough points that they could manipulate in faces. But if you sort of wink an eye, your upper lip moves because everything's sort of connected. Now, if you watch some of the facial animations, the expression would change in their eyes, and the lower part of the face would not move, or they would talk, and their eyebrows and forehead muscles wouldn't move. And so they weren't, the faces just weren't moving organically because they weren't moving the way they should.
I suppose I take your point. If I compare it to anything Pixar were doing, not even at the time, like, 10 years before, was still way ahead of what this is.
But one of the things I kept thinking was, if the remake, because I refuse to call it a live action film, if the remake of Lion King had been done in this style, I actually think it might have been a better film, because the facial movements and stuff were more acceptable with this than they were on those photorealistic animals that you get in that remake.
See, I just don't think it was well animated. I mean, like, from an actual animation point of view, I don't think they moved realistically. I don't think the facial expressions were good at all. And then the second point I was going to bring is whenever they ran, the feet didn't make contact with the floor. They didn't make believable contact, and they didn't have that sense of gravity and weight. When somebody jumps or pounces, there's a real speed to it. The old bouncing ball animation. I think it was really poorly executed in every way. I'm quite surprised.
There was a bit
you
when
guys compliment it.
The dad, when Kiefer Sutherland was running towards Ryan, in
Ryan.
the jungly bit, and I did think at the time it's a bit funny the way that he's running, but actually when I thought about it, cats move even when they're moving fast, they move in a very steady kind of way, and it didn't look awful, but it wasn't great. I mean, I'm completely in agreement with you, Lucy. I don't think it's particularly well animated, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's not great.
something I liked was the way that Sam's instincts were represented. I thought it was really nice how things were like lighting up and changing color. But then, didn't it just turn out that they were like magical chameleons the whole time?
Yeah, and
So
why
that
didn't other
completely
animals
took
suffocate when they were wrapped up by chameleons?
it's just such a shame that it totally took away that thing where it was like, oh, so he does have something inside him that works. You know, he does have these instincts, these natural instincts. There is something inside him. You know, it's not all about where you're from. It's like what's inside you, maybe. And then, I was like, what are these chameleons saying it was them the whole time? But then, even so, how are they changing entire trees? Didn't add up.
No, I agree. That was awful.
Mm.
Do you want to score the animation?
Yeah.
Oh, 5.
4.
I know not much, and I could pick some massive holes in it just from my limited knowledge. I'm going with a 2, and it's only not a 1 because the opening sequence was so good.
Which is low.
Should we move on to music?
Aye.
So me do me so me do. We are going to talk about the music hits. Rate the songs and score the incidental bits.
There you go.
Was it Clocks? Was it Coldplay Clocks?
That's what I wrote down.
Let's get straight to that bit.
Listen, I wrote, as Darth Vader, I wrote, no!
There's some awful...
It's so of its time.
There's that song Good Enough near the start, and it's in that sort of soft rock style, that sort of, we're good enough, that schlocky mid-noughties soft rock thing, and I was like, well, that's awful, blah, blah, blah. But when Clocks played by Coldplay, I wasn't just out of I was out of the entire film when I heard that.
I'm so glad. Do you know what I wrote? You're gonna have to talk me up here from a very low score.
Yeah.
I just that song. It was inappropriate for the moment in time. And if they were looking at the wonder of New York, it wasn't an upbeat enough song. And the fact that what they were doing was like quite a tense moment when they were going and trying to find him. And yet they were playing this song. It just didn't make sense to me. And on top of all that, it was Coldplay.
Yeah, but also like that song is so overused and so overly familiar.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like it had been. I don't know. It's like we're watching it. It's like, is this the actual song or has it been redubbed recently? Like, it's just someone like quickly had to dub a different song over it for some reason. It just didn't seem like it belonged there at all. It was
a bit
weird.
like.
I actually wondered if they'd got some kind of financial arrangement with Coldplay, because I was that baffled. By it. It's the same way that I think the whole thing was a money laundering scheme. I'm like, have they got this thing and somebody's twisted someone's arm to put this song in this movie? Because I mean, what the heck?
Do you know what it is?
Have you looked at the person who's done the music? Because my expectations here are it's the same person who did the music, or probably still does the music for Homes Under the Hammer UK daytime classic program. Because Ryan wanted to go home to the wild, home where he wants to be, and then they just appropriately played that song at the right time. I think that might be who it was.
Didn't Alan Silvestri was the composer?
No.
So actually,
I feel like I want to give him a good score just because it's him. But
so I listened a bit to the score specifically because I saw that his name, as I was watching it, I looked it up and I was like, oh, okay. So I listened to the score and I was like, oh, actually, there's some all right stuff in there if you listen carefully. But the thing about Coldplay and the thing about a lot of the music in Chicken Little was that, you know, Disney's like, you know, fantasy and it's magical and all this. And those songs are so ordinary and every day it ruins it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree completely.
I'm ready to score it.
Yeah. Go on then, Lucy.
I went first last. Oh no, I didn't.
It's your turn, Chris.
Is it my turn? Well,
yeah.
Do you know what? I'm going to be a bit kinder, but I'm actually going to give it a 1.
I've just remembered, and I can't remember what the song actually is because it's very unmemorable, but the credit song wasn't bad. The song on the end's credits was a highlight. but because I can't remember it all,
Wasn't it an
I'm
awful
gonna give
cover? It was an awful cover of something.
I'm going to give it 2.
Right. Oliver and Co. So far, I'm sorry to give away the score so early, but Oliver and Co. scored 37, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is currently on 29. Did you give that a 2 just then, Lucy? So
Yeah.
I need to give
You're going to
this.
give the music an 8
So I need to give this an 8 or more. Now,
for clocks.
I was going to give it a 2 because of clocks, but then I did listen to some of the score and I thought it deserves more than that. And I'm like, do I want to give it a 4 or a 3? Basically, this is the lowest scoring film we've ever done. But how low is it? I think, do you know what? Even if I thought it deserves a 4 because of the score, putting clocks in it is unforgivable, and that I'm gonna give it the 3.
Generous.
So that is a grand total of 32. This is the new lowest scoring film.
I mean, we kind of all had the instinct that would be the case, didn't we? Just because the fact it's like the movie of shame, the fact that it's been so brushed away so readily.
It seems too obvious. It seems too obvious that this is the lowest one, and I'm like, it's a shame that like it
We've
is.
given a lot of films recently a good chance, though.
Yeah, I thought maybe this is a hidden gem. Who knows? But it really wasn't.
I usually, while you add up, I talk about the IMDb scores and stuff, but you were way ahead of me there.
Well, I wanted to do like like on Come Down With Me, where he's like, Tina gives it a 7, then Jeremy will win, and they always keep that person's score back. I was trying to do that.
Okay.
Go on then, Lucy.
Right. Well, I'll talk about money first of all. The budget was 80 million, 60 million of which was laundered. And it actually made 103 million. So it made a small profit, certainly nothing anywhere near to Disney's normal form, but it did make a small profit, didn't bomb. IMDb, which we always talk, guys, if you listen to this regularly, it floats to a level as IMDb, and it's usually about 7.2. It's got 5.3, which is low. But Rotten Tomatoes, the audience gave it 36%, which is rotten. But the critics gave it 19%.
I thought you were going to say 90.
19. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back through everything. I'm not sure I've ever seen a Rotten Tomatoes score that low.
So here's a question for you then. Lucy, do you think this is the worst Disney film?
Yes. What are the other contenders? Oliver and Company. No, I would much rather watch Oliver and Company. I think it's better.
Black Cauldron, I guess, from your view.
Black Cauldron. It's not to my taste. That's the problem. It's not to my taste.
Haunted Mansion.
But I think it's got more credit. Haunted Mansion,
Holiday
even
Special.
though I gave it bad scores, I actually enjoyed it for what it was.
Holiday Special.
Holiday Special is
Lego Star Wars was low.
So I'm gonna say yes, and to me it was all the bad animation. Really, it's not without redeeming features there. And if you're curious, listeners, if you're wild curious, I say go for it. You want to live once.
The thing about Oliver and Co is the setting was so miserable. So I'd be tempted to watch The Wild again, because at least it's jungles and New York or a zoo, and or the ocean. It's like it's bright and it's light and it's,
I agree.
So I don't think I could enjoy being in the Oliver and Co world again.
Don't you want to listen to a bit of Billy Joel though, as you strut down Fifth Avenue?
Maybe it would depend on the mood. I don't know.
I'm in complete agreement. I think this is a worse film, but I think I'd be more likely to watch this again than Oliver and Company.
Yeah, I think that's it. I agree.
Cry factor, Hugh?
It's absolutely beautiful. He really loves it.
I don't know why they just can't be together.
Hugh's Cry Factor.
You all right there, Lucy?
I love that jingle. Is it a jingle?
Yeah.
That sting, whatever you would call that.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know why they can't be together.
Absolutely no emotion from me at all. So that gets the lowest, which is a 1.
Excellent. Best bits?
Just the pooing creature.
You know what? There was funny dialogue. I can't think of any right now.
Well, there was, I can't imagine beginning the day without licking myself.
Mm-hmm.
Or, the guy saying, "Oh, forget him. He never got over being flushed down the toilet."
Yeah.
It's like, that's okay. That's quite funny. Or, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take the one with the funny knees.
I'm with Ollie on this one. I like the end because I could turn it off.
Oh, the joy. What have we got next time?
Well, do you
Is
know
it
what?
Meet the
I think it's Meet the
Robinsons?
Robinsons, yeah. I'm quite looking forward to this because I do like this film, but I'm also realistic that I think it's not at the level that we're getting towards, but I think it's a step up, certainly from
Do you know, I'm just going to tell a quick anecdote while Hugh looks it up, and I think I might retell this next week. But I did run Disney, and they've got characters on the route that you can queue up to meet. And they do 20-minute slots and then they change over. And everyone was queuing up to meet Kronk and Isma. And then the 20-minute slot was up and they swapped with the Bowler Hat Man. And the whole line, rather than wait, the whole line just gave up and carried on running. They had about 30 people in this line waiting to have the photo taken with Kronk and Isma. And the minute the Bowler Hat Man came out, everyone just went, nah. And ran off.
Man. I would have waited.
Yeah, it's Meet the Robinsons, then Bolt.
Right. And then it gets good again.
Well, we've got a Winnie the Pooh to go yet, but
oh, God, every time you say that, I go, no. But it's not on this list I'm looking at.
What list are you looking at?
I don't know, just all 61 animated classics in order.
Then, is it? It's not.
Let's see what it goes up to.
It's a UK IMDb one that we're using, but that one hasn't been updated since Ralph Breaks the Internet, I don't think.
Right, this goes up to Frozen 2.
There we are.
It even goes up to Untitled Film due 2022.
Untitled film. It has been titled, isn't it? Called Encanto.
No, that's in here as well.
Oh, okay.
So this is a very up-to-date list. Don't have Winnie the Pooh though, so this must be, which version must this be?
US, possibly.
The American one.
No, Winnie the Pooh should be on both. It's number 49, I think.
Oh, there it is.
Yes, it is. Hang on, it says it's before Wreck-It Ralph. Oh, it's after Tangled.
It's the one after. That was 51 then. Yes, one after Tangled.
Oh, what a shame. We're just getting into like the big hitters. And then we have to go Winnie the Pooh.
You say that.
I like Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh.
Do you know what?
Rated really highly.
I enjoyed watching it, but it's something that is enjoyable when you're in it, but I don't look forward to it.
I'm looking forward to seeing.
Hang on.
How the difference is because obviously it's not coming now, is it? No, it is coming. Sorry, it's not.
This one is, yeah.
Yeah, it's not Sterling Holloway. It's Jim Cumming doing everything, doing all the voices pretty much, isn't it? There we go. Well, that kind of brings us to an end, I think, unless you've got anything else you'd like to talk about. No. Excellent.
Oh, except I'm getting very prolific with my YouTube videos. I'm doing planning videos and Disney bounding videos and dining videos for the parks, DVC videos. Check them out. Like, subscribe.
And we did put a shout out to our Twitter followers.
Oh, yeah.
They're not, very responsive when we ask them like what they think of our films. But Caitlin Jackson, good old Caitlin Jackson, did as usual help us out, and she said just watched it today. So I think
that's dedication.
Well, I think she watched it because we basically asked her to.
If not, that's a massive coincidence.
Yeah. She says, overall, the plot was pretty predictable, but I admit that I did not see the death cult or the volcanic eruption coming.
I don't think any of us did, Caitlin, if we're honest.
We didn't talk about that volcanic eruption. The volcano erupted and they just disappeared from inside the volcano to on the boat. There was no actual escape at all. They were just there.
And also, that place seemed big enough for that volcano eruption not to be too big an issue.
When it went up, I said, no, they're all dead now. That's it, they're all dead. But no, they were on the boat dancing. Good on them. Well, yes, as Lucy says, get on our YouTube, which if you're watching this is it. You're here now. if you're listening to it, you're not here now.
But that's okay.
But that's okay, yeah. And there's a link in the description that'll take you to here if here's where you want to be there. So yeah, go there here and follow us or subscribe, depending on which word you prefer to use. Which is a discussion from our DLP show.
And our screens are going to get even more inventive.
Yes. We're working on something rather special. Well, yeah. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with what did we just say?
Meet the Robinsons.
Thank you. Yeah, with Meet the Robinsons. And we shall see you then. So goodbye for now. Bye.
Good night, children.